I'm Andrew O'Hagan, the Scottish author, and I'm delighted to introduce my book, Caledonian Road. There are 60 characters in Caledonian Road, but the biggest character of all is London itself. Caledonian Road, which is the large street that goes up the side of King's Cross railway station, comes to symbolise the great multicultural, multifarious modern London, full of corruption, unfairness, comedy and different kinds of human life. I remember walking up that road when I was a young man, first arrived in London, looking up at the buildings, and I thought, this is a great subject for a novel. My main character is a man called Campbell Flynn, a man in his 50s, Scottish. He's a public writer, well known in London. He's successful. He lives in a beautiful house in Islington, has a fascinating wife, successful children, but something is wrong in the life of Campbell Flynn. He's falling apart. From the second we meet him, we begin to wonder, what is the mystery with this guy? What is wrong with him? Like so many men of his generation, he thinks he's lived the good life. He's been on the right side of history. He's a feminist, he's anti-racist, yet a younger generation have emerged who are pointing the finger at the Campbell Flynns of the world, saying, are you really as good as you think you are? I wanted to write an entertaining novel where right at the centre would be a clash of generations, the kind of clash that is happening in all cultures. Campbell Flynn is in his 50s and he thinks he's on top of the world, but he's beginning to understand that younger people like Milo Mangasha, his clever student, they might know something about technology and even about morality that Campbell doesn't understand. Is he about to be undermined? Is he about to lose his standing in society? Is he really falling apart? These questions are the questions that drove the entertainment, the drama of Caledonian Road. I started writing Caledonian Road over 10 years ago. I already thought then that London was the most exciting city in the world, deserving of a big, dramatic social novel. And look what happened since then. Brexit, the pandemic, austerity, a huge migrant crisis. Suddenly this novel that I'd started grew and grew organically to become about the Western world, about the crisis of liberal democracy, and also like a soap opera about these people's lives. Rich people, poor people, members of the aristocracy, street gangs, Russian oligarchs, fashion models, film actors. It all came together, this story, with the connections between all these different people suddenly seeming exciting to me. And if they're exciting to the person writing it, there's maybe a chance that it'll be exciting to the reader. I've always thought of this story as a comedy. It's a satire about modern manners, urban life. It could be Paris, Madrid, Barcelona, Tokyo. It could be many modern cities where the rich and the poor, different energies come together. London has a specific history of describing itself in the world of Charles Dickens, the world of Thackeray. Writers who were interested in trying to capture human beings in a dramatic way. For me, Caledonian Road was an opportunity to open up London in the age of the internet. All modern cities share a lot in terms of technology, social media, their economic reality. I wanted to make a novel that would feel international. Yes, it's set in London, but it could be almost any city in the Western world in some respects. I think the difference between writing a big social novel, which has entertainment and observation and social reality at its core, is that it's going to involve a lot of research for the writer. You can't guess. You can't guess what life is like for some, street gangs in North London, and their language is different, their register, their values have to be experienced in reality. And this novel was drawn from reality. Some days I would start the day with a street gang in their slang talk and their rituals and their smoking dope. And by the afternoon, I'd be wearing a three-piece suit and I'd be with some aristocrat at Windsor Castle trying to find out about their reality. It's that kind of book. where you go from one end of society to the other, sometimes within one scene. You know, I grew up liking novels like that really knew how to travel across a society. And Caledonian Road for me was a great research adventure. I mean, I got myself into trouble a few times and there were a lot of costume changes, I can tell you. But in the end, I got the voices. And great big social novels depend on one thing more than anything: voices. You know, one of the things that was amazing for my generation was seeing how, as men, we were different from our fathers. You know, our fathers in Scotland were tougher, they were, you know, more prejudicial probably. You know, they weren't feminists. They expected when they came home from work that their wife would hand them a drink and a cigarette and make their dinner. We expected none of that, and we were feminists in our own households. And I wanted to get that change into the novel, how social reality, even in the domestic situation, had changed. Now, of course, we live in the period of toxic masculinity. So we thought we changed, but did we change enough? Or are we slipping back? These are the kinds of questions that can prove dramatic in a novel. There's no reason why all the big social questions should be preserved for soap opera or for movies or box sets. Why can't they be part of a big exciting novel where every time you turn to a new chapter, you're wondering, how is this going to turn out?